Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. If you are just tuning in on the dial here, we want to hear from you this morning. Give us a call, 651-289-4488.
We have a special show today. We're broadcasting live from the State Fair, and it's beautiful. Now that the sun's coming out once in a while, it's warming up. It's perfect weather for walking around.
It's kind of a nice fall day, isn't it, today?
It is. It smacks of fall. It absolutely does. And we're going to have a special hour, our second hour, the Extreme Hour, where we're going to have a quiz show and give away prizes, lots of prizes. So come back. If you're here at the fair, come back and check us out, or call in, and you can win a prize.
That's right.
651-289-4488.
Yes. And again, if you're just tuning in, we were just talking about this story of a man from Cedar Park, Texas, who said, my rights have been denied to me as a homeowner living in a homeowners association because the HOA wouldn't allow me to put solar panels on the roof of my home. And as we talked about here, the key here seemed to be, here's a man who seemed to be thoughtful in wanting to save energy.
Sure.
Probably did some research.
Yeah.
But the question I have, how come he didn't do that research with his homeowners association before installing the product on the roof?
Or before moving in. Before buying. If you need to know what your association limits are and restrictions. And if you don't, you're not an informed buyer. So you really should not complain when you find out you're not free to do everything and anything you can think of on your property.
It's surprising to me how many people that live in a homeowners association and they deal with a problem where they're denied something by their HOA, and then at that point they say, I had no idea.
That's right.
It seems like, and I've said this so many times before, people take more time researching their next cell phone that they're going to purchase more than they do living in an HOA.
Their home, which is, and this is what makes all of these issues so charged, is because it is your home, which is one of the most important things you're going to own in your lifetime and one of your biggest investments. So I think that makes the situation very emotional and very charged for the homeowner. But then again, why in the world don't they know what they're buying into from the start?
Yeah.
This is their biggest investment. The problem, too, is that state legislatures are supporting these homeowners when they raise an objection to what they contracted to.
Yeah, and that seems to be a common theme that we're seeing over the last few years, more and more, where I think that people in the state legislature often do not understand how a homeowner association is run. And the basics, if you're a listener new to the show, don't live in a homeowners association, one of the things that happens is that, and I think this is true in every state, I do not know of one state that does not have this, and that is before you purchase a home, and especially in a homeowners association, you have a set amount of time, so many days, to read what's called the governing documents.
That's right. So, in fact, when you buy in an association, you usually get two disclosures. You get a disclosure from the seller talking about the home itself, the interior, the appliances, the condition of the home, and you get a disclosure from the homeowners association telling you what its rules, regulations, and restrictions are. Right?
That's correct.
You should read the darn thing. Please read your governing documents before you make that purchase.
And so many times people don't do that, only to find themselves butting heads with their homeowners association later. And that's exactly what happened in this story here with Mr. Mathers, who said, I want to put solar panels on the front of my roof. And the association didn't say no. They said, you just can't put it on the front part of the roof.
Yeah.
You can put it on the back of the home.
Now, that may have had the effect of a denial. If he can't get enough sun on the back of his roof to make it worthwhile, then, they may have skirted that yes-no issue by making it impossible for him to get what he wanted.
But again, like we talked about here, this is not a man who just bought a single-family home himself.
No.
He bought in a community with other homeowners, and he agreed before he purchased the home and saying, I'm going to give up some of my rights because I'm going to get some benefits from the association.
That's right.
Those benefits are I'm going to have things like the lawn taken care of. I will have insurance paid for. Minnesota would mean having snow removed.
That's right.
There are having certain maintenance done to the exterior of the home. Maintained.
It depends on the association.
That's correct.
If he's in a single-family home association, then he needs to look and weigh the benefits of that against the rights he's giving up. Correct?
That's correct.
Usually the benefit in a single-family homes association is that someone's keeping an eye on the neighborhood. The board and the association are making sure that people maintain their homes to keep up the property value so that everyone gets something good out of the situation, right?
Exactly.
So you need to know what you're getting
into. And so
into.
here he is. He said, I just entered into this contract. Now I want to renege on it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to follow the rules. Even though I said this is what I was going to do, I don't want to do it now.
Yep. Changed my mind.
I changed my mind. And I just wonder how many of us would appreciate that with any other contract, that we have, out. For example, how about if before someone purchased a home, the seller said, okay, I'm going to sell all the appliances with the home for this certain price.
Okay.
But last minute, the seller says, we changed our mind. We're going to keep the refrigerator.
Or how about if a year later, the seller comes back and says, we changed our mind. We want the refrigerator back.
Yes.
Because that's kind of what these homeowners are doing. They're reneging months, years after they've made the purchase of their home.
And for some reason, the people at the state legislature at times don't seem to understand that. They seem to understand that a contract is a contract for everybody but a homeowners association.
I don't get it. But if you have a comment about this or a question about this, call us at 651-289-4488 or stick around for the show. We're going to be giving away prizes and asking you some questions.
That's right. In the second hour, we're going to have what's called the Extreme Hour. Some of the most outlandish stories we've covered over the last couple of years. And we're going to be quizzing not only the audience here at the State Fair, but our listeners, too, on those stories and what took place. Well, let's move on to our next story. And this is an email that we received just this last week after the show last Sunday. And this is from a regular listener of the show, and it says, Dear Gene and Tony, I live in a 64-unit townhome association. 46 units were completed between 1973 and 1977. The remaining were completed between 1988 and 1993. The original documents had the association responsible for roof and siding replacement.
Okay, that's common.
Very normal.
Very common.
Right. It said in 1988, the association shifted this responsibility to the homeowner. So instead of the association being responsible for their own roof, now each individual homeowner is.
Oh, my. And this was before the entire place was even completed, it looks like. In 1988, they started completing the last 18 homes, and that's when they shifted this responsibility of siding and roofing
from being an association responsibility
to the individuals. And this is a townhome association, so these are connected homes. They share walls.
So
they
we're
all have
talking
the same
about
roof over them.
Yeah, we're talking about, a typical townhome built in that style.
Yep.
We're probably talking about quad units, I'm thinking.
Yep.
Probably 4 units to a
be.
building.
Yep.
And so you've got a shared roof, so the
That's
roof
right.
over your home continues on over to your neighbor. There could be some issues if you said everybody's got to repair their own section of the roof.
That's right. Because at the very least, 4 owners would have to coordinate that effort. But that's why they bought into a homeowners association in the first place, is so that the association would coordinate those efforts.
That's
correct?
Right.
And pay for it.
But apparently this association thought that it would be easier the other way. Let's go on. There's even more here. It said, I understand some faction convinced the rest that this was better handled by individual homeowners, even though we're talking about contiguous roofs with neighbors like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
There was also an issue that reserves were low then and now, and even though we have a pool and clubhouse and other extensive common grounds. In 2008, there was a storm damage. Okay. And a claim that took place.
All right.
Some of us thought this would be an ideal time to bring the responsibility of having roofs repaired now by the association.
Because I think the association filed that claim as an association, right? And all the roofs got replaced in 2008. So some of the owners said, hey, okay, we have brand new roofs. Let's give that responsibility back to the homeowners association so they can do what they agreed to do in the first place.
And this is where a homeowner association does what it does best when we're talking about coordinating things that are shared elements that all homeowners have.
It's a huge benefit of owning in an association because your roof is going to cost you individually less if that roofing company is there doing 86 roofs.
Yeah.
Correct? That's
exactly.
the whole point.
To top all of this off, this particular homeowner association, not only do they want to put back on the backs of all responsibility, it seems like, to the individual homeowner,
right?
But the association, which also collects money for the replacement of all of these major items, it's called the Capital Replacement Fund.
Sure, and part of the fees you pay every month to your association are set aside for long-term replacements.
Yep. And so you're supposed to put money aside so you have money there when this needs to be done. Well, this association doesn't like doing that either. They like to keep it really low. They would rather just special assess people at the time that something is needed.
Let's explain what that means. So the association is, rather than putting aside some money every month for roof replacement 15 years
you get the bill
from now, in 15 years we're just going to divide up the cost among all the homeowners, and you get that $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 bill individually at that time.
That's right. And so that can be pretty big on someone's budget.
Oh, my gosh. Most people can't afford a hit like that, I don't think.
Well, I tell you what, we need to take a break right now. When we come back, Tony and I are going to share our thoughts about this association and what's going on here. Do you think that this is a good idea? Are they handling things well in this homeowner association? We want to hear from you. We'll be back after these messages. You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.